Think about a time when you truly believed in someone. Maybe they seemed kind, reliable, and full of integrity. You trusted them. But then something happened. A moment of truth that changed everything. Suddenly, their actions revealed a side of them you never expected. We live in a world where appearances can be deceiving. A well-crafted social media profile, a polished public image, or an impressive resume can create an illusion of character. People are often judged by how they present themselves, but real character is not found in appearances. It is revealed in the small, everyday moments when there is no audience, no reward, and no pressure to impress. So how can we see through the illusion? How do we know who someone really is? The Stoics believed that a person's true nature is revealed in the way they behave, not in what they say. Character is exposed in the choices people make when faced with real-life situations, especially when things are difficult or when no one is watching. In this video, we will explore 5 revealing tests of character. If you pay attention to these, you will see people for who they truly are. You will recognize who is genuine, who can be trusted, and who is only playing a role. More importantly, you may discover something about yourself along the way. Now, let us begin. First test, how they treat those who cannot benefit them. If you want to understand someone's true character, watch how they treat people who can do nothing for them. It is easy to be kind to a boss, a client, or someone with influence. But how do they act toward a waiter, a janitor, a receptionist, or a stranger in need? The Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught that status, wealth, and charm mean nothing if a person lacks virtue. He reminded us that it is not what happens to us that defines us, but how we respond. How we treat others, especially those who have no power over us, is one of the clearest reflections of our character. Imagine 2 people at a restaurant. The first one, Alex, smiles at the overworked server and says, "Take your time, I understand you are busy." Even when his order is wrong, he responds with patience and understanding. The second one, Jamie, rolls his eyes, sighs loudly, and complains about slow service. He speaks to the server with irritation, making sure everyone around him hears his frustration. Neither of them realizes that others are watching, but in that moment, their true nature is exposed. Who would you rather trust? Who would you want as a friend, a leader, or a partner? The answer is clear. Respect, kindness, and patience, especially when there is nothing to gain, reveal true character. This pattern does not stop at restaurants. It is everywhere. Pay attention to how someone treats a delivery driver, a janitor, or an elderly neighbor crossing the street. These small interactions are not meaningless. They reveal everything. These interactions are often overlooked, but they are the truest tests of character. A person who pauses to say thank you to a receptionist, who smiles warmly at a waiter, or who holds the door open for someone without expecting acknowledgement, reveals a heart attuned to empathy and humanity. In contrast, someone who is dismissive, impatient, or even condescending toward those in service-oriented roles exposes an underlying insecurity. They may feel the need to assert dominance to compensate for their own shortcomings. The way a person treats those who are in a vulnerable position can be a strong indicator of how they handle relationships, conflicts, and power. Psychologists say that how a person treats service workers is often a reflection of their own inner world. People who belittle others tend to struggle with insecurity. They need to feel superior to compensate for their own feelings of inadequacy. Meanwhile, those who treat everyone with dignity tend to have higher emotional intelligence and confidence in themselves. They do not need to put others down to feel important because they are secure in who they are. Marcus Aurelius understood this well. Despite being an emperor, he treated even the lowest-ranking soldiers with respect. He believed that every individual, no matter their status, played a vital role in society. He wrote, "What injures the hive injures the bee." He understood that when we treat others with kindness, we strengthen not only them but also ourselves. There is a reason why great leaders, true friends, and trustworthy partners consistently show kindness to those who cannot offer them anything in return. They understand that character is not about seeking recognition or gaining an advantage. It is about living in alignment with one's values. So the next time you are around someone new, pay attention to how they treat those who are often overlooked. Watch how they speak to a customer service representative when dealing with a problem. Do they acknowledge the effort of a store clerk or act as if they are invisible? Do they show appreciation for those who make their life easier, or do they treat them as if they are beneath them? These small moments tell you far more than any impressive words or gestures ever could. Second test, whether they keep their promises. A person's word is one of the strongest reflections of their integrity. When someone makes a promise, no matter how small, it is not just a casual statement. It is a commitment, a silent agreement that their words have meaning. But not everyone treats promises with the same level of respect. The Stoics believed that a person's actions should align with their words. Seneca once said, "A promise is a debt unpaid." If someone consistently breaks their promises, they reveal something important. Their words cannot be trusted. It does not matter how persuasive they sound or how much they try to justify their actions. What matters is whether they follow through. Imagine you have a friend who promises to help you move into a new apartment. You plan everything based on their assurance, but on the day of the move, they cancel with a vague excuse. Now compare this with another friend who not only shows up but also brings extra supplies to make the job easier. It is not just about inconvenience. It is about trust. When someone keeps their promises, even when it is difficult, they send a clear message. They value you and their word matters. But when someone consistently fails to follow through, their words lose meaning. Over time, relationships built on broken promises weaken and trust disappears. The way a person handles their commitments, even the smallest ones, is a reflection of their true nature. Someone who honors their word, whether in a professional setting, a friendship, or a family relationship, demonstrates integrity. On the other hand, someone who frequently cancels plans, fails to meet deadlines, or makes excuses for not following through reveals a lack of reliability and accountability. Psychologists say that breaking promises is not just damaging to others. It also affects the person who does it. Each broken commitment weakens their self-respect. It sends a subconscious message that they cannot rely on their own word. Over time, this can lead to a cycle of avoidance, procrastination, and a diminishing sense of responsibility. On the other hand, people who honor their commitments build confidence, discipline, and stronger connections with others. They understand that keeping their word is not just about proving something to others. It is about proving to themselves that their actions align with their values. The true test of integrity is not when things are easy, but when they become inconvenient. Life is unpredictable, and sometimes obstacles get in the way of fulfilling a promise. But what a person does in those moments reveals their character. Do they take responsibility, communicate honestly, and try to make things right? Or do they make excuses and hope no one will notice? Marcus Aurelius lived by a simple rule. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Keeping a promise is not just about meeting an obligation. It is about showing respect, reliability, and self-discipline. Pay attention to how someone handles their commitments. Do they follow through on their word even when no one is watching? Do they honor small promises, or do they only act when there is something to gain? These questions will reveal the truth about who they really are. Third test, how they react to difficult situations. It is easy to be kind, patient, and composed when everything is going well. But true character is revealed in times of difficulty. When faced with frustration, pressure, or failure, how does a person respond? Do they remain calm and collected, or do they lash out, blame others, or fall apart? The Stoics believe that adversity is the greatest test of character. Epictetus taught that we do not control what happens to us, but we always control how we react. He said circumstances do not make the man, they only reveal him to himself. A person's response to challenges shows their level of self-mastery, resilience, and emotional intelligence. Imagine two employees at work who are both assigned a last-minute project with an urgent deadline. The first one, David, takes a deep breath, prioritizes tasks, and focuses on solutions. He may feel frustrated, but he does not complain. Instead, he calmly works through the challenge, adapting as needed. The second one, Mark, immediately reacts with anger. He blames his boss, complains about the unfairness of the situation, and spends more time venting than actually working. Who do you think will gain more trust and respect? Who is more likely to succeed in the long run? The way a person handles difficulties tells you whether they have emotional resilience or if they let their emotions control them. Now think about how people handle personal setbacks. Imagine two individuals who both lose their jobs unexpectedly. The first one, Sarah, takes time to reflect, updates her resume, and starts applying for new positions. She understands that setbacks are part of life and that her response matters more than the event itself. The second one, Tom, spends weeks blaming his former employer, complaining about how unfair life is, and refusing to take action. He believes he was wronged and focuses on what he cannot control instead of what he can do next. These two people faced the same hardship, but their responses could not be more different. One takes responsibility and moves forward, while the other becomes stuck in resentment. The difference is not in what happened, but in how they choose to respond. The same principle applies in everyday life. Some people handle traffic jams, long lines, or minor inconveniences with patience and understanding. Others react with frustration, irritation, and outbursts of anger. These small moments reveal whether someone has self-control or if they let their emotions dictate their behavior. Psychologists say that emotional regulation is one of the strongest indicators of long-term success and well-being. People who can manage their emotions during difficult moments are more likely to make rational decisions, maintain healthy relationships, and adapt to change. On the other hand, those who react impulsively, lash out, or blame others often struggle with personal and professional growth. Marcus Aurelius, who faced wars, plagues, and political betrayals, constantly reminded himself to focus only on what was within his control. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This philosophy helped him remain calm under pressure and make decisions based on reason rather than emotion. Pay close attention to how someone handles challenges. Do they remain composed, think clearly, and focus on solutions? Or do they let emotions take over, act impulsively, and shift blame? Their response will tell you more about their character than any words ever could. Fourth test, whether they show gratitude. Gratitude is one of the clearest signs of a person's mindset and character. People who appreciate what they have tend to be more content, humble, and generous. On the other hand, those who constantly complain, focus on what they lack, or take things for granted often struggle with entitlement and dissatisfaction. The Stoics believed that gratitude is essential for a fulfilling life. Seneca wrote, "No one is poor who has enough, but those who are enough are satisfied are the poorest of all." A grateful person recognizes the value of what they already have, while an ungrateful person always feels like something is missing. Imagine two co-workers who both receive constructive feedback from their manager. The first one, Emily, thanks her manager for the advice and sees it as an opportunity to improve. She understands that feedback is meant to help her grow. The second one, Jake, reacts defensively. He takes the feedback personally, complains about how unfair it is, and refuses to acknowledge any areas for improvement. The difference between them is not in what happened, but in their mindset. Emily shows gratitude and a willingness to grow. Jake, on the other hand, resists change and chooses to focus on what he perceives as unfair. Over time, these small reactions shape a person's reputation, relationships, and success in life. Now think about how people react to everyday situations. Some people express appreciation for the little things, whether it is a kind gesture from a stranger, a meal they enjoy, or the presence of loved ones. Others overlook these moments, always looking for something bigger, something better, or something they believe they deserve. Imagine two friends, Anna and Lisa. They both go out for dinner at a restaurant. The food is good, but not extraordinary. Anna appreciates the meal, enjoys the conversation, and thanks the staff for their service. Lisa, on the other hand, spends the entire dinner complaining about small things. She nitpicks the food, criticizes the service, and acts as if she deserves better. Who do you think is happier in life? Who would you rather spend time with? The answer is obvious. People who practice gratitude not only enjoy life more, but also attract positivity and stronger relationships. Psychologists have found that gratitude has a direct impact on mental and emotional well-being. Studies show that people who regularly express gratitude experience lower levels of stress, greater resilience, and stronger social connections. In contrast, those who are constantly dissatisfied tend to struggle with negative emotions, relationship problems, and a sense of emptiness. Marcus Aurelius understood the power of gratitude. Despite the many hardships he faced as an emperor, he often reminded himself to appreciate the present moment. He wrote, "Do not waste what you have by desiring what you do not have." This mindset allowed him to remain grounded even in the face of adversity. If you want to understand a person's true character, observe their level of gratitude. Do they appreciate what they have, or do they always feel like something is missing? Do they express thanks for the kindness of others, or do they take people for granted? The way someone answers these questions will reveal more about them than any words ever could. Fifth test, whether they take responsibility. A person's ability to take responsibility for their actions is one of the strongest indicators of their character. Those who accept accountability for their choices demonstrate maturity, integrity, and self-awareness. On the other hand, those who constantly shift blame, make excuses, or refuse to admit when they're wrong reveal a lack of personal growth and reliability. The Stoics believed that personal responsibility is essential for a virtuous life. Epictetus taught that we cannot always control what happens to us, but we are always responsible for how we respond. He said, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." A person who blames external factors for their failures instead of looking inward will never improve. Imagine two people who make the same mistake at work. The first one, Daniel, acknowledges his error, apologizes, and takes immediate action to fix the problem. He learns from his mistake and ensures it does not happen again. The second one, Chris, denies responsibility, blames a co-worker, and refuses to accept any fault. He insists that it was someone else's mistake and avoids any effort to make things right. Who do you think will earn more respect? Who is more likely to succeed in the long run? The answer is clear. People who take responsibility build trust and credibility, while those who avoid accountability damage relationships and limit their own growth. Now consider how people handle setbacks in life. Some take ownership of their failures, reflecting on what they could have done differently. They use challenges as learning experiences and take steps to improve. Others blame circumstances, bad luck, or other people for their misfortunes. They believe life is unfair but refuse to acknowledge their own role in their struggles. Think about two individuals facing financial difficulties. The first one, Sarah, examines her spending habits, adjusts her budget, and takes proactive steps to improve her situation. She recognizes that some things are out of her control, but she focuses on what she can change. The second one, Jason, blames the economy, his employer, and everyone except himself. Instead of taking action, he complains and waits for circumstances to improve. The difference between these two individuals is not their situation, but their mindset. Sarah understands that personal responsibility leads to growth, while Jason remains stuck in a cycle of blame and inaction. Psychologists have found that people who take responsibility for their actions experience greater personal and professional success. They develop resilience, problem-solving skills, and a greater sense of control over their lives. Those who constantly blame others, however, tend to feel powerless and struggle to make meaningful progress. Marcus Aurelius understood this principle well. He wrote, "You always have the power of your mind. Focus on what you can control, and you will find strength." Taking responsibility is not about punishing yourself for mistakes. It is about recognizing your power to change, improve, and move forward. If you want to understand a person's true character, observe whether they take responsibility for their actions. Do they admit when they are wrong, or do they shift blame? Do they take ownership of their decisions, or do they look for excuses? The way someone answers these questions reveals more about them than any words ever could. Resolution: applying these tests in our own lives. Now you know the 5 most revealing tests of character. How someone treats those who cannot benefit them, whether they keep their promises, how they react to difficult situations, whether they show gratitude, and whether they take responsibility. These are not things people can fake for long. Over time, their actions will reveal their true nature. It is easy to analyze others. But what happens when we turn these tests inward? If someone were watching you, how would you measure up? Do we show kindness to those who cannot offer us anything in return? Do we keep the promises we make not just to others but to ourselves? Do we remain calm under pressure, or do we let emotions take control? Do we practice gratitude, or do we focus only on what we lack? And most importantly, do we take responsibility for our choices, or do we look for excuses? It is easy to analyze the behavior of others, but true growth begins when we turn these tests inward. The best way to recognize true character in others is to cultivate it within ourselves first. If we want to surround ourselves with people of integrity, wisdom, and emotional strength, we must first become that kind of person. Every day, life gives us countless opportunities to show who we really are. A moment to say thank you. A chance to keep a commitment, even when it is inconvenient. A decision to respond to difficulties with patience instead of frustration. The way we handle these small moments builds our character far more than any title, reputation, or public image ever could. Think about how a single action can shape the way people see you. Imagine a friend who always shows up when they say they will, even when it is difficult. You trust them because they have proven through their actions that their word matters. Now imagine someone who constantly makes excuses, cancels plans, or fails to follow through. Even if they have good intentions, over time you stop believing what they say. Their words no longer carry weight because their actions do not support them. The same is true for how we treat those who cannot do anything for us. Imagine a person who goes out of their way to help someone in need, even when no one is watching. Their kindness is genuine. Now imagine someone who only treats people well when it benefits them. They may seem charming at first, but their true nature eventually becomes clear. These tests of character apply in all areas of life. They influence the quality of our friendships, relationships, careers, and personal growth. When we surround ourselves with people who live with integrity, we build trust, stability, and meaningful connections. When we hold ourselves to these same standards, we become people who inspire respect and admiration. Psychologists say that self-awareness is key to personal growth. Taking time to reflect on our actions, recognizing our own weaknesses, and actively working to improve are signs of true maturity. People who take these tests seriously and apply them to their own lives develop stronger relationships, greater self-confidence, and a deeper sense of purpose. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." The strength of character is within your control. The choice to be someone who acts with integrity is made in small moments, every single day. Character is built in the smallest moments. Every decision, every promise, and every act of kindness shapes who we become. So today, start paying attention, not just to others, but to yourself. Live with integrity. Choose kindness. Keep your word, and above all, be the person you would want to trust.